Hey everybody, welcome back to the Comic Wall. It's me, the Outcast Angel, and I realize how big this shirt looks on me. And let's talk about issue 36 of Outcast, the conclusion to the invasion story arc. Now, I have some bad news for y'all. So, if y'all are fans of Outcast, if you follow it regularly, you've noticed that lately, within the last year, I think, or at least within this year, there's their schedule has been a little off. They'll go maybe a month, maybe 2 months without a new issue, and we find out in this issue that in order to rectify that situation, they're going on hiatus for about 5 months. So we're not getting any Outcast until December 2018, which I hate because until they get their shit together, I'm just kidding. Until they get their shit together, we're not getting anything until then. But it's gonna be great though because I mean, by the time they come back, they are going to we're gonna have a whole bunch of new Outcast issues going into the new year, and I'm trying to pep myself up a little, but honestly, I'm a little disappointed. I'm sad, but I mean, hopefully they can work it out. They can fix it because honestly, in my mind, especially with the September solicits going live recently, I honestly thought that Outcast was going to be ending soon. And granted, I've never actually witnessed a comic series being canceled. I've always, I mean, not not canceled, but just maybe they end earlier than they meant to. But I mean, I don't even know how that works exactly. But I mean, for now, we have this issue, and it was fucking intense. I mean, it it just opened a whole new door into this series, and like I'm excited to see where we go from here. So take all the time you need, I guess, and just come back with a larger world, a stronger story. I mean, this story has already been strong enough, but it's it's you guys have opened the door for us. So let's go ahead and dive right in where we left off in issue. What was it? 35. Roland Tusk, the mediator for the Fallen, that I call them, the demons that are possessing everyone in Rome, Virginia. He's found Kyle's little hideout, their safe house, and so armed with the Rome police force, he is leading a raid on the compound, I guess you can call it. And so here we see Roland making a threat, saying, first off, just rude. He's saying, if this escalates, I don't think you're anticipating how easily someone you care deeply for can catch a bullet. Wow. And so, with that, their doors open, and we see Roland with this shit-eating grin over here. And turns out Kyle is preparing to step out. He's preparing to meet Roland and the rest of them. Something interesting here. Kyle says that things feel different. I feel more connected than ever, and Simon is saying that he feels it too. So Kyle comes out with his hands up and facing the police force, and and Roland's just like, this is the first smart thing you've done in a long time. And so Kyle starts talking. He's saying, I didn't want this. All I wanted was to be happy with my wife and daughter, to live in peace. That he didn't know who these people were. He didn't know what they were, what they were doing, and he didn't care. But since they kept, interfering in his life, kind of like he says, if you just left me alone, I never would have gotten involved. If you just stopped hurting the people I love, but it's too late for that now. You've done too much. My mother, my father, time with my wife and daughter that I will never get back, and all this other stuff. We can almost see this power growing within him as we get this spread of pages here. We see I guess you can say the panels just zooming in closer and closer on his face, and first off, the detail here is absolutely gorgeous. I'm loving this so much. And in the last panel, we see Kyle, really leading into this next page, which is fucking terrifying. I had legit chills seeing this page, and it's just intense. I've never seen this kind of power coming from Kyle, and like we see his hand with the lightning coming from it and everything. His eyes are glowing, and like Jesus, I was shocked by this. Pardon the pun. And so Roland and the rest of the police force who are possessed, he's obviously taken aback by this. He probably never anticipated this, and probably doesn't even know what's going on. And so Kyle focuses this energy that he's gathering into the ground, and in this next spread, which is this one gave me chills as well, and it just shoots through every single officer within this compound. And first off, it just shatters the ground beneath them. It's intense. I can't believe this that he's actually doing this. But we also see this little panel here. We see, I forgot her name. Well, we see Kyle's daughter here. I'm sorry, I couldn't get it. We see Kyle's daughter here, and she has the same look in her face. Her eyes are glowing. She has the lightning coming out from them. And then we see these other two panels with Simon and Daphne, the new outcast that we met. And Kyle basically kicks everyone's ass, the whole police force. Roland, however, managed to get into their little armored vehicle, and he was safe. Of course, that was a smart thing to do. And so this took a lot out of him. This really, used up a lot of energy, so he passed out. And so Roland stumbles out of the armored vehicle, and he sees all his officers just passed out. And so Reverend Anderson and Chief Giles grab Kyle and drag him back into the compound. And so Roland is obviously not very impressed or not very entertained by this. So his police force start waking up and coming to and everything. And so the rest of his officers are like, no, we need to fall back. But Roland starts checking these other officers that are still on the ground, and I'm noticing now that there's actually these dark stains around them. That it's not blood, but it's the stains that these fallen make when they're exercised, to for lack of a better word. And so I think Kyle may have actually pushed the fallen out of their host, and Roland noticed this. So the officers that were leaving to retreat, they're leaving, and Roland picks up one of their machine guns and kills them all. And the rest of the fallen that are taken out, that have been exercised, he shoots them all in the head. He just kills them all. And so he calls in saying shots fired, basically staging an ambush that they had been ambushed, and that they were taken out. So now we see Kyle resting in bed. First off, notice the little Triforce symbol on his shirt, and Simon is obviously impressed. He's very impressed by Kyle's power, whatever he did, and so he's obviously exhausted. But it turns out that this whole incident made national news. So what the news is saying like uh, the incident that sparked the deadly confrontation caught on film as cult leader Kyle Barnes abducts his sister the from the local hospital, and how police were ill prepared when they went to confront him, and ended up in a shootout that resulted in the death of 10 officers. So everyone's shocked by this. Um, they obviously weren't anticipating this, and they didn't want it to go that far. So, you know, this sucks. And now, and now we see Reverend Anderson and his son, I forgot his name, Matthew, um, talking, and Matthew obviously feels very bad about this because he obviously knows that the Roland and the police that he was working with were lying, because he was under the impression that his dad was going crazy, that they were violent, and so he wanted to help. So he led Roland and the rest to their safe house. Um, but obviously, seeing as there were obviously no weapons of any kind in their compound, he knows they were lying, and so um, Matthew's just saying like, I needed you, Dad. I didn't know anything. You weren't there for me. I was thrown into the world on my own, sink or swim." And so obviously he has some resentment toward his father, because I mean, as we've seen throughout the series, whenever Reverend Anderson would try to call his son would never answer, or his son would answer and say like, "Stop calling me." But obviously he knows now that his dad was onto something. Obviously too late, but um, but now we're having a better reunion between the two here, and I'm honestly happy for them, because Reverend Anderson has been a little too lonely, and hopefully having a son by his side, he'll make the right choices, and not so dangerous choices either. So now we're at something called, what is it? The Deer Creek Lodge. And this is where I guess, Sean Makowitz, the previous editor of this series, had called them the Council of Weirdos, or something like that. And so what I'm calling them is the Fallen. This council they have are meeting, and they're obviously not very impressed by Roland's actions, or his failure, rather, since Roland stepped in as the what I call the mediator of the Fallen after Sydney was murdered. And so Roland is like, well, first off, one of the leaders of this council is saying like, we've cowered around you, putting up with your unbridled arrogance. You're done, Roland. And Roland is just like, "Stone, is that you? You, my misstep isn't nearly enough for you to suddenly find your spine." And then he's like, "Unless," and this panel is just terrifying, because we see everything turns red, and Roland is obviously very scared, because he says, "Oh shit, I assure you, this situation isn't dire enough to warrant you coming here." And someone off panel says, "Obviously, I disagree." Who is this? I always thought that the mediator of the Fallen, whether it was Sydney or Roland, I always thought they were the top dogs. I always thought they were like the ones sent to organize all this. And so, I always thought they were more powerful than everyone else. I mean, we saw Roland; he was a sick freak throughout this whole, what is it, like 7 issues that we've met him, and who is this that he is obviously terrified of him, or her, whoever it is? So, I mean, we'll have to see in December 2018. Remember, I'm sad. Now in this page, we are cut to what looks like Seattle, Washington, which is obviously far off from Rome, Virginia. It's on the other side of the country. And we see this family room full of like kids and teenagers, and this older woman comes in saying, "Kids, turn that TV off. You don't need to be hearing about this." And it's the news covering the things going on in Rome. But once she sees the this overhead shot of where Kyle had taken out the rest of the police force, she says, we hear her say, "Those marks on the ground. I know what that is. Where did they say this happened?" And so, in the next page, we see just darkness and someone talking, saying, "Something is happening. We can feel it. You know how uncomfortable I can make you. We can even send you back. Talk to me." And then, I guess a door opens, and we see this old man tied to a chair, and obviously he's one of the fallen because the sunlight hurts him, and he's having a hard time here. And then we see this older man saying, "We weren't supposed to be interrupted. What's wrong?" And so we find out this man is named Darius, and this older woman is named Nikki, right? Yeah. And I guess he's trying to get some information out of this man, this possessed man. And so Nikki shows Darius a tablet with the news on it, and she's saying, "I found a powerful beacon, or a cluster of them, so many that they were powerful enough to do this." And Darius is obviously surprised, and Nikki continues with, "This may be the chance we've been waiting for. We have to go to Rome, West Virginia, before it's too late." This is obviously very intense because who are these people? And one thing I did notice, this older woman has like a streak of gray hair, and Simon has a streak of gray beard. He has a streak of white on his beard, and I don't know if that's maybe I guess a sign of older outcast or something. But then Darius doesn't have that either. I don't know. It's interesting because, I mean, obviously Nikki may be outcast, maybe not, or maybe she just knows about this. No, because she knew she could feel them. She found a powerful beacon, as she says. And so I don't know. I don't know if that's linked to anything. It might just be a coincidence, but we'll see in December 2018. So that's the end of this issue. And I was lucky enough to get a letter printed in this issue. And so I start with, "Hello, Outcast team. Whoa, that ending gave me chills. I can't believe it. This feels like another Waco waiting to happen. If you guys," I continue, "I'm interested to see how things are going to pan out from here. And so, question, when will we see Amber," there we go, that's Kyle's daughter, "learn to use her powers? I can only assume we got some foreshadowing to that at the end. See you next month, blah, blah, blah." And then Jon Moisan, the editor, the current editor of Outcast, replies with, "Well, thankfully the ending of this arc wasn't exactly a Waco situation, but I still think Kyle is pretty screwed. At least it doesn't end with the farm catching fire. Silver linings, folks. As for Amber, I'd put money on her powers being on display sooner rather than later." And then Robert Kirkman finishes with, "Well, this isn't the X-Men, so I wouldn't say that Amber is going to get powers. But she may get more involved at some point. We'll just have to see." And the farm catching fire, that's an interesting idea. So I don't know. We're getting some mixed signals here, and that's the end of this issue. So yeah, we're not getting anything until December 2018, as I've said throughout this whole video, because I am pissed. And hopefully with the premiere of season 2 of Outcast here in the States, I'll be doing some videos on the episode, so that way, we can get some work out of that. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys liked it, and if you did, drop a like, show the love, hit that subscribe button to get more of my videos, ring the bell to get notifications of when I post new videos, so that way you guys stay updated and don't miss out. And I'm outsies. Bye.